1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 78 of Star Wars Reactions. We are going to have so much fun in this episode. I have been looking forward to this for quite some time now. That really hasn't been quite some time. It's because we only talked about this 2 weeks ago. So, but yeah, I've been looking forward to this episode, doing this particular episode, because we are going to be discussing one of my favorite parts of Star Wars. We're talking Star Wars Rebels. That's right. This is our Rebels Remembered 2022 episode. We are going to have a blast. So let's get the introductions out of the way and get things going. If you don't know, my name is Aaron Harris. I am one of your hosts here, and joining me is the Kanan to my Ezra, the David Motters. David, brother, how you doing?
Hey, brother. Doing pretty good. I'm actually, loved your comparison. You nailed it. It's a perfect one for this episode. And I do have to say, I'm absolutely ready to react because Rebels holds such a special place in my heart because, I really did start recording with you on a consistent basis within that show. And so I think about that and just developing our friendship, and just like you'd mentioned, it's just one of my favorite aspects of the entire Star Wars story. And so I'm absolutely ready to react, and I'm very thankful to be on with you tonight.
Wonderful. Same here. This is a subject near and dear to my heart, and I am so looking forward to this. For those of you who don't know, what Rebels Remembered is, Rebels Remembered actually is an annual event that started, when did it start? Last year or the year before is when it actually started.
Yeah.
Where it by fellow podcaster and Star Wars fan, Jonah Maria Macias, who kicked this off as just a way to remember the fantastic show Star Wars Rebels. This was, of course, an animated show that aired on Disney XD, and it ended 2018 is when the last episode aired, March 5th, 2018.
Yeah.
It really does not feel like it's been 4 years since that show ended. But it was such a great series, and it impacted a lot of people positively, that, it's just something that we do every year, just to bring, reminisce about such a great series. So, and that's what we're going to do today. We've got some questions that each of us are going to answer about Star Wars Rebels, and we've really done a Star Wars Remembered. It's Rebels Remembered. It's all Star Wars, but Rebels Remembered week is what we've really been doing, because all of our media posts have been about Rebels this week, specifically because of this day. Now, the official Rebels Remembered Day is Saturday, March 5th. So feel free on that day to post all the Rebels content you like. We will be posting. That, of course, is our Ships of the Saga Day. So I know, to give you a sneak peek of what that will be, all the posts that day will be about the Ghost.
Nice.
the ghost. So it's just going to be great. It's going to be fun. You can share. People will be sharing stories. People will be talking Star Wars Rebels memories, and which is essentially what we're doing in this episode. So let's not hold back. Let's get this going. And David, we're just going to start with you.
Yeah.
With the very first question. Why do you love Star Wars Rebels?
Well, I would say Chopper, but you're going to take that. So
you can love there's enough love for Chopper for you to love Chopper too. I just know for a fact you don't love him as much as I do.
Well, I don't know that anybody does. Well, except Samantha, right?
She does give me a run for my money, doesn't she?
She does, and I hope she listens to this episode and hears me say that. And I very much want to record with her, and we did talk about doing that. So yes, we will. But no, I love Chop. I love that. There's a lot of reasons why I love this series. You know, I don't know. I start thinking about episodes. I start thinking about the settings. I think about how it continued the lore, and I think about Dave Filoni's influence within this particular series and what it did. Right now, as we're talking, I'm thinking back to the World Between Worlds and what that did to my brain, and seeing the what was it, the father, the daughter, the son on the side of that wall, or that where they were digging, the Empire was digging there, and how Ezra knew how to get through, but that one lackey of the Emperor's, he didn't know how to get through, and just incredible stuff. I think to just the gut-wrenching emotional moments. Maybe one of the biggest is when Kanan dies, and how his eyes became clear again, and how powerful that was. I think about Aaron and I just getting wrecked emotionally when Chopper's little hand comes up and holds on to Hera's. I'll start crying right now. Oh my gosh, just incredible. Just destroys you in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Why else do I love it? The characters. I love falling in love with Zeb and Sabine and Hera. Kanan, Ezra. I love these characters. I love the family, the found family again. I love the spaceships, like Aaron just mentioned. I love the Ghost, not like love the Ghost in that ship. And I loved, here's a big part. It might even bleed into the next question. But another part of Rebels is actually meeting a lot of the voice actors involved with it. And Aaron and I have talked about that previously, and we can talk about that some more. But that made me love it even more, when you meet Tia Sircar, and you meet Vanessa Marshall, and you meet, who's the voice of Zeb?
Steve Bloom.
Steve Bloom, and I can talk a little bit more about that as we go on, but meeting those persons was just incredible. And so absolutely love it. And then how about this? Loving how it ended. Loving what they did, and the postscript, kind of the epilogue that they did, with Sabine's voiceover. And then you see Ahsoka and you're like, what? Just incredible. So from start to finish, so many things that I love, and there's even more. Love Chopper, love that character, and love the baddies too. We'll talk a little bit about the baddies as we get going. So they're just, again, you can see I'm gushing. When I said I'm ready to react tonight, I am ready to react. But why do you love Rebels, buddy?
Well, there's so much for me to say that I could probably fill up like 5 episodes of our show, just talking about why I love Rebels. So I'm going to try to keep it brief. So sit back, grab your popcorn, and I'll be done in about 2 hours. Not just kidding. Rebels is near and dear to me for many, many reasons. One, I missed out on Clone Wars. I came in about season 4 of Clone Wars is when I came into the fandom fold on that. But Rebels, I started from day one. I sat there, I watched the premiere and Spark of Rebellion. I watched that when the first day it aired, and just fell in love with it from the beginning. I'm an OG guy. I'm an original trilogy guy. Those are my favorite. And the opening scene, when the first aired, and the opening scene, and you just hear the hum of the TIE fighters, and it was just like, this is my Star Wars. This is it. And then the characters that they introduced were just incredible. Ezra, Kanan, Hera, Sabine, Zeb. They gave me my favorite droid in the whole world. They gave me Chopper. How can I not love the show that gave me Chopper? And the character growth, the story depth, the lessons taught, the expansion of fandom, the expansion of the Star Wars lore, all throughout the series was just incredible on so many different levels. And especially when they started tying it in, and even so, it became so popular, they even started tying it into live action movies with Rogue One. I mean, it just does not get much better than that. So not to mention the fact too, Rebels is what got me started podcasting. So this is a very near and dear series to my heart. And I could keep going. I'm just going to try to wind it down there. It's just on my tombstone, it will say, "Here lies Aaron, father or husband, father, Rebels apologist." and below that, it will say, "Chopper lover." So that's just simply it. I just had a brilliant idea.
What's that, buddy?
When I die, they need to cremate me, and my urn needs to be a chopper.
An urn, I know.
A chopper-shaped urn.
Yeah.
My wife probably won't go for that, but it would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Oh my gosh. I don't think she would, but it would be awesome.
Oh, love it. So you're right. This particular question led right into our second question, which is, what is your fondest memory of Star Wars Rebels? And I'll kick this one off, because probably my fondest, I got several very fond memories of the show. I mean, from meeting the cast, watching episodes, but probably my fondest memory is also probably the most bittersweet memory, and that is sitting in the convention center, Celebration Orlando, with you and Gary and Jason, and watching the Star Wars Rebels panel.
Yes.
Seeing Dave walk out with the Ahsoka Ahsoka Lives shirt, which was awesome, with a question mark on it. Right. Which was awesome. Yeah, he came out in the Ahsoka Lives, and there was a question mark, and bittersweet, because that's when, of course, they announced the end of the series, which was just like, gut-wrenchingly heartbreaking to hear. But then they gave us the teaser of watching the very first episode of the final season, there, which took place there on Mandalore, and it was so good. There was such applause. They let us watch it twice.
Yeah.
Which was great. And then to top it off even more, in the time that the lights were out and we were all watching the episode, Dave changed shirts, and his shirt then said "Ahsoka lives" with an exclamation point.
Yeah, exactly. And you could hear
the
people,
ultimate
like,
troll.
Yeah, oh, it was. And you could hear people going, "Wait, what? Whoa!" And everyone starts making noise, and we all looked at the shirt, and he's like,
Yep.
smiling.
He just has that smug smile. I love it. So that panel would definitely, I would say, is my fondest memory of Star Wars Rebels. How about you, buddy?
Man, when you said that, because the whole cast was there. Freddie Prinze Jr. was up on stage. Mm-hmm. He did not come to Star Wars weekends, so I was not able to meet him there and get his autograph. But to be able to see him up there, Taylor Gray, I think, you met Taylor Gray at Star Wars weekends? Is that right?
I met everybody at Star Wars. Taylor, Steve Bloom, Vanessa Marshall, Tia Zirkar. Met them all. And I was fortunate enough to meet Freddie Prinze Jr. at that celebration.
That's what I thought.
So I did make a point to go meet him. And I got there at the right time because there was, I guess his rush had ended and he was literally sitting at the table all by himself, just him and his rep. That was it. Nobody in line, nothing. I walked straight to the front.
That's perfect, dude.
Yeah, signed a photo. We talked for a minute, and that was it. And it was perfect. Perfect.
I know, and I remember that because I think, of course, Aaron and I have talked before about how early you have to get to Hollywood Studios in Orlando here to get autographs and stuff. And I just remember not knowing who Taylor Gray was and really kind of meeting some of these people before the show came out. But, in terms of fondest memory, sitting there, I had my son and daughter there with me at that panel. There was no question I wanted to be there. Sat in line with Aaron. Really got to meet Jason for the first time, really kind of in person, and just was so thankful for that. And I just remember sitting there, and it is one of my fondest memories, and just looking over at my children, looking at Aaron, looking at Jason as we were looking up at all of the cast, and Dave Filoni, of course. Just that's one of my fondest memories. And I would say, Aaron alluded to it, is that meeting the voice, the number of the crew. In fact, before we got on to record tonight, I grabbed Star Wars Insider number 166. It's from July 2016. And I was looking back, and it is page 79. And if you look, they have a thing, I think almost every month or so in Star Wars Insider. It's called Bounty Hunters. And if it says, meet the stars, show the evidence, win the bounty. And so I sent pictures into Star Wars Insider, and it's 4 different pictures from 4 straight weekends. But one I'm looking at is with Tia Zirkar. One is with Vanessa Marshall. One's with Steve Bloom. And then I remember the last week we met Jeremy Bullock, and I'm looking at it. In fact, I'll post this picture, like Aaron said, with the hashtag Rebels Remembered on Saturday. I'll take a picture of this and just let people see it. But meeting Tia Zirkar, Vanessa Marshall, Steve Bloom, they were so nice. And I know people have talked about this. Listen, you hear the good and bad stories and stuff like that, but all 3 of them were so nice to my kids. they took time. There were so many people wanting to get their autographs. And I mean, when I post this picture, you'll see the big smiles on my kids' faces. Side note, Jeremy Bullock, who we lost, he was such a gentleman, so cool. But like I said, I'll post that. Those, like for Aaron and I, again, some of our all-time favorite Star Wars memories is Star Wars weekends. But I would say being at that panel with my kids, Aaron and Jason, and then getting to meet the voice actors are my fondest memories. I have a honorable mention, Aaron, for fondest.
Okay.
Now you mentioned it. Now I was thinking about it. It was October of 14 when it premiered, I think, because I remember it was 14-15 was season 1, 15-16 season 2, 16-17 season 3, and like Aaron said, 17-18 it finished up March of 18. And so those are the 4 seasons. I remember, just like Aaron said, watching Spark of Rebellion, and I remember them saying at Walmart the next day you could buy on DVD, not Blu-ray, but DVD, you could buy Spark of Rebellion. And I remember going the next day to my local Walmart, buying Spark of Rebellion, and it seemed like it came with like a keychain. I got to look in my drawer. I have it like a, I don't know if it's a keychain of a Star Destroyer, because you know how prominent they are in the show. I got to go take a look, but it came with like a little special knickknack with it. But I remember popping it back in and watching it again. So that was my honorable mention there. So there you go. From the very beginning.
Cool.
Yeah,
very cool. Very cool. And to clarify, the series premiered, Spark of Rebellion actually premiered September 26th, 2014.
Okay.
Then the syndicate, that was when it premiered. Then there was about 2 weeks between the premiere date on, because remember, Spark of Rebellion premiered on ABC.
Okay.
And then they re-aired it again on Disney and on Disney XD. And then the actual series started with the second episode, Droids in Distress, October 13th.
Okay. All right. Oh, thank you for that helps, buddy. Yeah, right there, right? September, October of 14 to go into, and 15, the beginning of 15 was the end of the first season. And it was off and running. 4 incredible seasons.
Absolutely. It truly was 4 incredible seasons. And that series gave us a lot of fantastic characters. It brought back a lot of fantastic characters from the Clone Wars. They brought characters from the Clone Wars, even from some live action stuff in. And it really was a series that kind of just drew everything together. It drew the prequels into the original trilogy and into the animated series. It just kind of bound everything together through the characters being used. So the question bears asking, and everybody probably already knows the answer to mine, so I'll save it. But what is your favorite character from Star Wars Rebels? Good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter.
In between the Bendu. Right.
He's not the good, he's not the bad, he's not the ugly, he's in between.
He's in between. For me, it's I just, in my head, sometimes you ask, who pops into your head first, and for me, it's Hera. I love her. I love the motherly role. I love the powerful, strong, confident female who can fly the ghost the way she does. The encouragement she provides to everybody. She's just a hero. I mean, just this incredible hero. And like Aaron said, not only did Chopper make the transition over to, the big screen Rogue One, but you also hear General Syndulla, and so that was incredible to hear. But I love that character from start to finish, and just everything that she stands for as a a Star Wars hero, a strong female hero, and positive, loving, strong, can kick your butt in battle, can fly. What a lot of people argue is she just as good as Han Solo, right? In terms of piloting, one with a Falcon, one with a Ghost, and so yeah, Hera, and it doesn't hurt that, like we said before, meeting Vanessa Marshall and just how nice she was to my kids. I mean, you got me. You got me.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I completely agree. And that's Hera. Hera is an awesome character. Of course, I could sit here and go on and on and on about Chopper being my favorite, because that's a given. I think after 78 episodes of this show, it's well established that my favorite character is Chopper. So I'm going to throw everybody a curveball, and I'm going to give you my second favorite character from Star Wars Rebels.
Ooh, nice.
And I don't think David knows this either.
I don't, buddy.
My second favorite character from Star Wars Rebels is Agent Kallus.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the story of Agent Kallus. I love the character development. I love the growth. I love everything they did with that character. You despised him in the first season. He always came up short, but he was always right on their heels the whole time. And then, in a twist of fate, you get sympathetic for him. And he turns, and he ends up joining the rebellion. It is his character growth and his character arc is probably, in my opinion, one of the best written character arcs, not only in the series, but probably in Star Wars, period. Because it is a full-fledged journey, and like it's a full-fledged journey of redemption. Is simply what it is. And I love the fact that they included that in this series, and the fact that the actor who did his voice, David Aiello, just did phenomenal job on it, is incredible. And I will say, it is the one action figure I have not been able to get my hands on.
Oh man, yeah.
From the collection, from the series. He's the one I am missing. And I keep eyeing him on eBay. I just cannot bring myself to pull the trigger on spend that much money. So, but Kallus is my second favorite.
Can I also say this about Kallus? He always had the best hair.
Oh yes, he did.
So I was like, man.
Yes, he did. And that's something I'm lacking, which made me like him even more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm bald, and and I just see his hair, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, you're killing me. But no, that character, that was something that Aaron had mentioned at the beginning in terms of why do we love Rebels. This isn't just that straightforward animated show, but what they did, the writers and Dave Filoni and so on, with Ezra, with Zeb, with Sabine, Hera, with Kanan, and Agent Kallus. There's character development, there's story. This isn't just Saturday morning cartoon. There's real development, and again, one more awesome aspect of why they did four not good but four great seasons. There's some Clone Wars had a few seasons where the animation is a little wonky, and so not this. All four seasons were just really tight.
Mm-hmm. They really were. They were all flowed together. They were fast moving. It told one fantastic story.
Mm-hmm.
And it was perfect. To me, it was the perfect series. So since we've discussed our favorite character, and of course we all went with well, except for me, went with good guys. There were a lot of bad guys throughout throughout Rebels.
Yeah.
They were facing Callus, which we mentioned, Moff Tarkin, Vader, the Grand Inquisitor, the other Inquisitors, the fifth brother and
seventh
sister, were all in there. I mean, there were a lot of baddies floating around there. Who's your favorite baddie? Oh, Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Governor Price, all these baddies that they had to deal with. Admiral Constantine. Who's your favorite bad guy?
Yeah, that's a toughie for me because, boy, all of them. I do think, just again on a gut level, first response. I think the Grand Inquisitor in that first season. I just really loved how they used the Powan. His face, the lightsaber that they gave him.
Mm-hmm.
Just relentlessly tracking them down. I don't know, and even right now in my mind's eye, we're thinking about Spark of Rebellion. Was it Fire Across the Galaxy ended, right, season 1, and I can see Kanan battling the Grand Inquisitor, and his ending. I thought it was great, and Thrawn is just Thrawn, but I really, really enjoyed that Grand Inquisitor and him serving, under Vader, I guess, even getting messages from the Emperor, right? Yeah, for me, it's and of course he wasn't in the rest. Gosh, holy mackerel, dude, you just got me. In my mind, I can see it right now. We see the Emperor at the end, and Ezra dealing with the temptation of his parents there. You can have all of this. They've got the Emperor in there, and he's pulling on what Ezra and Ahsoka's trying to help him in the world between worlds. Oh my gosh. So that was incredible as well. But I think for me, I really love that Powan aspect, his face, how he looked when he snarled, and how he battled, and his movements. In the voice actor, I can see his face right now. Wasn't he in some of the Harry Potter movies? I'm blocking on him, but that guy was great as well.
Which one again?
The voice of the Grand Inquisitor.
Oh, Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs.
Yes, he played Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter.
Malfoy, yeah. So that did it for me as well. So that's my best baddie. Although the other ones that Aaron reeled off are top notch.
Very true, very true. And that's a great. The Inquisitor is probably one of the best. I called Callus a baddie earlier. He starts off as a baddie, doesn't end as a baddie. And overall, probably, like I said, my second favorite character. But if we're looking strictly at bad guys and their evil intent and the way they are, to me, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn. I love that blue son of a gun. He is just of course I have some connection to the character because of the original trilogy written by Timothy Zahn back in the 90s. And I fell in love with the character then. I guess it was 80s, 90s when he wrote that. I have to pull up the dates. I don't remember, but I don't have to pull up the dates. The books are sitting next to me. I guess I could grab them and look. But I really, really fell in love with that character and the way they portrayed him on screen. He was very pensive. He was very on par. And it was 92 when it was released. The first one, where we were introduced to him. Sorry. But he was just the everything about that character just exuded just not necessarily exuded evil, but exuded evil without exuding evil. Does it make any sense?
It really does. It really does.
Just the level of genius put into not only the writing of the character but the performance. Lars Mikkelsen, who voiced Grand Admiral Thrawn in the series, I mean, he just the just the way he spoke and the way he carried himself that he was animated to carry himself was just, oh my gosh. It was somebody that you would look at and be like, oh yeah, I got this guy beat. And next thing you know, you're like on your back, ready to die. I mean, there was just no beating him. And it took the ultimate sacrifice to beat this man, is what it took to beat Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
The rebellion didn't do it. The Ghost Crew didn't do it. They were beat. I mean, he had them beat. He had them pinned down. He had them beat. It was Ezra sacrificing himself, which saved them and led to, I mean, we ultimately don't know what happened to Thrawn, but we know it led to that defeat.
Yeah.
And it's always, and every time he lost in the series, it was because of outside interference. Season 3, when he. Could you try again? Hi Siri. I said Siri. It heard Siri. Wow, talk about blowing my chain of thought. Thank you, Apple. This episode is not brought to you by Apple because they just made me blow my train of thinking.
Carabast.
Carabast. Yeah, this show also gave us our Carabast moments. There we go. Yeah, it just goes right along with the theme of the show. But the end of season 3, when Adelon the chopper base on Adelon gets raided by Thrawn, so it wasn't Thrawn. The rebels did not beat Thrawn. They were soundly defeated by Thrawn. They were captured by Thrawn. It was the outside interference by Bendu which allowed them to escape.
Right. And like you said, it needed the level of sacrifice that Ezra did, because yeah, they're pinned down. They're in that station, and the people of Lothal are just being pounded. Yeah, it was not good.
No, it wasn't. And it was very, he was just such a deep character. I loved it. Especially the whole, I mean, there was just one monologue that he did that I absolutely loved, where he's talking about, to know your enemy, you got to know, to beat your enemy, you got to know your enemy. He's like, I study war. He's like, and he just, this whole monologue, which just gives you chills when you're listening to it. It's just, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
I get chills thinking about it.
Well, I wanted to say that, just like I mentioned with Jason Isaacs doing the voice of the Grand Inquisitor, like in my mind, I'm like, I can't think of anybody else doing it. And the same thing with Thrawn, when you hear that voice performance along with, like you said, Aaron, how they wrote the character and his, with Timothy Zahn's input. But to add that's the finishing touch, is that voice actor. Mm-hmm. And now I can't hear anybody else doing that. That's me then,
Even Mark Thompson, when he recorded the audiobooks for the new Thrawn trilogy that came out after Thrawn was introduced in Rebels, he even modeled the voice after Lars Mikkelsen's performance.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a very close reproduction, and it's phenomenal. So yeah, we could go on about this all night. It's just very, very fun to do. So we're going to keep going, but real quick, we got to take a break. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to keep talking Rebels Remembered and a whole bunch of stuff. So hang with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. Episode 78, Rebels Remembered 2022. We're going to continue on discussing Star Wars Rebels and what our love for the series. We've talked about. I'm going to throw a question out here that we haven't. It's not in our show notes, Dave. So this is going to go on the fly. So we've talked about the characters in the show we love. We've talked about our favorite bad guy. We've brought in Dave Filoni and crew brought in a lot of talent and a lot of characters from other places in Star Wars into this series. Like I mentioned before, Moff Tarkin, Darth Vader. We had Leia. We had Bail Organa. We had 3PO and R2. We had Lando. There was Hondo Ohnaka. There. Captain Rex, Ahsoka Tano. These are all character. Wedge Antilles, young Wedge, and who the other guy that got rescued with Wedge from the Academy, died on Hoth.
Okay, I can see him. I know.
I can't even think of his name right now. That's going to bug the snot out of me.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I can see the animated character too.
Yeah. But these are all characters that existed in the saga. Saw Gerrera, all characters that existed in the saga that were brought into Rebels. Out of all the characters they brought in, who was your favorite that they brought back?
It's Vader.
Vader?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, and I think back to, I guess it would be what was it? April 2015. It's just before it's a Star Wars Celebration. I'm out in Anaheim, and they were previewing that season 2 premiere, which has what's it called? The Siege of Lothal, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Is that what it's called? Or maybe I'm messing it up.
Siege of Lothal was the end of season 1.
Okay. Or no, Fire Across the Galaxy was, right?
You're right. Siege Across. Yeah, you're right. I apologize.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I messed up.
Well,
Kiribati.
There it is. And I just remember being there, and I remember trying to get into that Rebels kind of, like people were trying to get into the Rebels panel that you and I went to in 2017, but this is 2015. Rebels first season is gone through, and it's a super big hit, and I just couldn't get in there to see it. And then I remember seeing it finally the beginning of season 2, and Vader in there, and seeing Ezra and Kanan trying to deal with Vader, but then having James Earl Jones voice, come back again as Vader. That, was just incredible. And then, of course, in Twilight of the Apprentice, him, Vader floating down in that epic scene on top of his TIE fighter. You gotta be kidding me. So, yeah, for me, it's Vader.
Very good. Very good. There are, like I said, there are a lot of returning characters, we will call them, to the series that we talked about. Probably my favorite, the one that I celebrate the most is Saw Gerrera. Because we saw his character at the point he returned to Rebels. We saw his character. We've seen his character in Clone Wars. And we had just seen his character in Rogue One.
Mhm.
So there was a vast difference in the character we saw. We saw a put together, hot tempered warrior, and in the Clone Wars, to where in Rogue One we had a more man now than machine, more machine now than man, veteran, almost paranoid, rebel leader, more of a terrorist than a rebel leader. And it definitely was a huge window of growth for that character. And a big question was, so people who knew the Clone Wars, was what happened to him. And we get to see some of that in Rebels. And we got to see that in the character we saw in Rebels was the perfect mix of the two.
Yeah.
He hadn't gotten to that paranoid extreme yet, but the paranoia was flaring up. You could see it happening with the pursuit of what happened on Geonosis, the pursuit of the Kyber crystal. The paranoia was there, and you could see it building. And it was, to me, it was the perfect link between the movie and the Clone Wars. And I love it. Not to mention the fact that, I got to break the news that he was going to be in the show. Thanks to Toys R Us. Oh God, that was amazing. For those of you that don't know the story on that, I went Christmas shopping with my wife for my girls, and we were at Toys R Us before all their stores closed. And we were walking around looking, and they had a table set up in the middle of the store, and they were just handing out random posters. So I go walking up. I'm like, what you got? What you got? And I'm just looking around, killing time while my wife's looking at Barbies, because, I'm not my cup of tea. So I'm standing there and I'm looking, and all of a sudden something catches my eye because I see the Rebels logo. And I'm like, oh, can I have that? Yeah, sure, go ahead. And he pulls it out and hands it to me. And I take it and I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden it hits me. That's Saw Gerrera on the poster. Mm-hmm. Now, at the time, there had been no announcement that Saw Gerrera was going to be there. There was nothing. It was just literally there's Saw Gerrera on a Star Wars Rebels poster. And I'm sitting there going, holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
So I, after consulting, because at the time I was hosting Rebels reactions for Dan Z over on Coffee with Kenobi. And so I shot a picture of the poster, sent it to Dan. I said, should I post this? Because this hasn't been announced. And he's like, absolutely. So we posted it, and you talk about viral. That thing exploded. And I still got that poster framed and sitting here. It means, it's just got a special place in my heart. But that's just one of the bonus reasons why I like Saul. But his growth in the series was why I like bringing him back. So,
yeah. Well, it's another reason we love it, is because I remember when that happened, and when you told me about it, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And there's just, as we're going through this show, so many more memories are popping into my head about covering this show with you and stuff. But I'm glad you mentioned that. So in terms of characters that have been brought back, and I mentioned Vader, and you mentioned Saw Gerrera. Yeah.
And there's a lot more. So, and it was just there was just so much goodness in the series that can't be missed or talked about. One thing, another thing that I didn't put in the notes, but we need to talk is Kevin Kiner. The soundtrack to this series rivaled anything put out for the movies. The Rebels soundtrack, to me, is superb. And I'm dying to get the rest of the series released. They only released season 1 and season 2 of the soundtracks. But they released a track here or a track there on the website in the latter season, but they never released a full album. I need that full album, guys. Come on. Disney, Lucasfilm, if you're listening, give me the full album for Star Wars Rebels, please. I beg you. Just the themes that were created for the series were phenomenal. And I can't help but go to the theme that was designed for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Just that organs and choir. I mean, it was just, you just felt the grandiose presence of the character through the music. The music in and of itself told the story. You could have no dialogue, but the music Kevin Kiner wrote for each episode told the story without anybody needing to say a word. And that's what, and that was, to me, that was huge. That was huge for this show.
No, I remember many a time you and I during our coverage, we were really consistent with bringing up Kevin Kiner and the music. And I think for me, you really helped grow that in me, that appreciation for the music and the cues and the different ways that Kevin Kiner would use Star Wars, the traditional stuff from Williams, but put his own twist on it and stuff like that. So, yeah, what is Star Wars without the incredible music and themes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just I love how David Collins said it.
David Collins.
David Collins said it in that the music, the soundtracks are literally the breath of Star Wars. Yeah. It gives life, it gives breath to the story, and it definitely was that case in this series. Yeah. So, all right. So ultimately, we had 73 episodes of Star Wars Rebels, spanning 4 seasons. Fantastic episodes. So what was your favorite episode, David? This is hard. I'll even expand it. What are your top 3 episodes?
Okay. Oh, wow. You just made it much easier. Because I was going to kind of stretch it from a favorite episode to, 2 of them, meaning, Twilight of the Apprentice Part 1 and Part 2. Anybody who's listened to any of our Rebels reactions, Resistance reactions, and now Star Wars reactions knows how much I love those 2 episodes. Just incredible. And those were the A pluses, for me, and really compared a lot of other Star Wars to it, including, episodes of Rebels. So just love those first 2 episodes, or those 2 episodes. But then I was going to put in Twin Suns, and that with Stephen Stanton doing old Obi-Wan, Sam Witwer doing Maul. I think about in the original Star Wars reactions, a studio there at Aaron's place. He's got a beautiful picture of that battle about to begin there on Tatooine. So that one, seeing a young Luke from a distance, those are my top 3.
Very good. Very good. And I like that. Very good. Very good. So, like I said, this is very difficult to choose just one episode. That it's hard to choose just 3 episodes, to be honest. And you got some good ones in there. I've got my top 3 here. Of course, Twin Suns is right up there at the top with that Kenobi versus Maul fight was just picture perfect. And of course, everybody knows my looking at the complete saga. My two favorite characters are Chopper and Kenobi. So I had Chopper and Kenobi in the same episode talking to each other in this. So it's going to be right up there at the top. So Twin Suns was just awesome. It was the 20th episode of the third season. My number two, that was number three. My number two episode is Hera's Heroes.
Oh.
Hera's Heroes. Of course, this is when she returns to Ryloth. And of course, the Empire's all over the place there. And she's trying to recover her family's Calicori. She ends up being captured. And this is where she meets Thrawn for the first time. And we see this we get that incredible monologue I mentioned earlier is in this episode. So Hera's Heroes is number two. And my number one favorite episode is The Honorable Ones.
Oh.
Season 2, episode 17, The Honorable Ones. This is the episode where we see things change for Agent Callus. Mm-hmm. He gets stranded on the planet with Zeb. They have to rely on each other to survive. And they learn to trust each other in order to survive. Where they're stranded on the planet, they have to escape some creatures. We get probably one of the best lines in Rebels. Carabast. What does that even mean? and we see Callus begin to realize and question whether or not he's on the right side. Because at the end of the episode, they are sitting there like, they got the transmitter going. It's going to be a matter of who shows up first. It's a general distress signal. It could be the Empire show up first. Could be the Alliance show up first. Who knows? And the Ghost ends up showing up first. And Zeb leaves, and Callus watches from hiding, watches them celebrate Zeb's return. They hug him. They're happy. They're happy to see him, and they whisk him away. And Callus stays there and eventually is rescued by the Empire. We find out behind the scenes that he actually wasn't rescued by the Empire. He was actually rescued by pirates who eventually got him back to the Empire. And when the final scene of that episode, we have him literally on board the ship. He walks out of down a corridor, rounds a corner, and bumps into Admiral Constantine, who is like, "Oh, Callus, welcome back." And doesn't even welcome him back, just gives a very cold Agent Callus and goes about his business. Callus literally is limps into his own quarters, sits down, looks at the rock that he kept with him that they had used, that heated up and generated warmth for him on this planet. He kept it, and he's sitting there and he's looking at it, and you can just see the turn, the beginning to question what's right, what's wrong in the character. And that is, to me, just a pivotal moment in the series for my second favorite character. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Oh man, well said. Nice three, man. And I do remember, how much you enjoyed those three. Yeah, well done.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start wrapping things up here. And I'll let you go first, David, on any final thoughts you have that you want to share about Star Wars Rebels.
Well, I guess, much, like we've described already, Rebels was so important to things that are so important to me. First and foremost, it's the start of podcasting for me, in essence, with Aaron. So I love podcasting. I love Aaron. He's my brother. We started as friends. He's my brother now. And it started with this series and continued on, as we said, into other iterations, Resistance Reactions, and now Star Wars Reactions. But it started here with Rebels. Um, the memories from Star Wars Celebration that we had mentioned earlier, and being at that panel with the entire voice acting crew and Dave Filoni up there and the reveals and stuff like that. Um, I would say, just I was thinking back through, all 4 seasons and some of the humor. We talked about the music, Kevin Conner's music and the writing and character development. Some of the humor is just so good and funny, particularly some of the stuff that Chop does. Some of the stuff that Hondo does. It's just great stuff. And just looking at it from start to finish, it is just some of the best Star Wars that is out there. When you look at the animated series that have been created, the Clone Wars is incredible. These 4 seasons of Rebels are just so well done from start to finish, all 4 seasons. And so when I think about that, and I associate it, of course, with Star Wars weekends, there's nothing but good vibes and memories for me of Star Wars Rebels. And and a shout out, like Aaron said, to Jonah Maria Macias and her real and a push for Rebels Remembered. We had her on a little while back. I was not more than a little while back, I think, when it was wrapping up. And so we had her on, and she was just great. And she's been just such a huge fan of that. And of course, I think about her as well when I think of Rebels Remembered. But like I said, most importantly, it's great Star Wars. But even more than that, it helped develop a wonderful friendship with Aaron, brotherhood with Aaron, and it's resulted in me podcasting, to this day, this many years later. So, bravo to Rebels, and I could imagine us doing more of these Rebels Remembered episodes in years to come, and there'll be more stuff to discuss. There's so much more to discuss, and so again, bravo, cheers to Rebels, 4 years of awesomeness.
Bravo, bravo. That is exactly right. Well said. For me, like I said, Rebels is my favorite topic of discussion when it comes to Star Wars. I could talk about Rebels all day. I could talk about Rebels all night and never get tired of it. But I mean, to really sum up and some final thoughts, what Star Wars Rebels is to me, it's happiness. It simply makes me happy. It's something that I love. It's something that I've enjoyed. It's something that just has a special place in my heart because of the series. I have so many incredible memories because of this show. From meeting Vanessa Marshall before the show even aired. I mean, I remember meeting her and her jumping up from behind the table and giving me a hug. Then 3 years later at Celebration, her remembering me by name and talking to me. It's little things like that just, endeared the show even more to me. It is just one of these things that, I'll never get tired of watching. I have watched and rewatched the series more times than I can count. and I will keep watching it. I don't get tired of it, and I love everything about it. The music, the characters, the story. It just, there's a lot of meaning to it for me, from the podcasting and everything. And I mean, I remember, and this is just one side story we're gonna throw out there, and I don't remember if you remember this, David, but there was I want to say it was a celebration for Rebels, and Dave Filoni's up on stage, and they had overflow seating on stage because it was so crowded in this panel. And they had this little girl up on stage, and they let her ask a question. And her question was, who voices Chopper? And of course, at the time, nobody knew it, because the credits only said Chopper as himself. And they didn't announce who actually voiced Chopper till the very, very end. And it ended up being Dave Filoni.
Right.
And I remember Dave sitting there going, y'all are really doing this to me, huh? He's just got that busted. How do I get out of this? Because that was one of the big secrets, who voices Chopper. And he walks over and he makes her promise it's just between him and her and nobody else. And he whispers in her ear, and she has the most I don't believe you look on her face.
Yeah.
Which, leads me to believe that he told her the truth. Yeah, I can hear him. Yeah, it's me. It's me. and her sitting there just kind of looking at him like, seriously, dude?
She kept the secret.
She kept the secret. Yeah. But even then, even if she'd have told somebody, I don't think they would have believed her. Right. He wasn't, he was never my top pick for the voice of Chopper. If you'd have asked me, you asked me then who the voice Chopper was, I would not have said Dave Filoni. I would probably have gone with like the voice of Rex, E. Bradley Baker.
Yeah,
would have been a guess for me, but Dave Filoni, yeah, that I love that story. Just that whole scene was phenomenal. But Rebels was just, it was a diamond in the rough, and it was something that comes once in a lifetime, and we will never see its likes again. Simply said. So, well, with that, we want to know what you think of Star Wars Rebels. Let us know what you think. You can, of course, hit us up on any of our social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest at SW Reactions, Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, or of course email us anytime, any day, show@StarWarsReactions.com. David, do you have a psychology corner for us this week?
Well, I do, my friend. We've been going through the stages of change theory, starting in January, going through February. We're now here into March because of, obviously, people know we're right here near Rebels Remembered Day, March 5th. And we're recording this on March 3rd. Real quick shout out, happy birthday to my mom. Already talked to her tonight. She's a March 3rd baby, so just had to throw that out there. So, so we've been covering this. I've been going over the different stages. I had mentioned, I think last week, that in this episode I would kind of really put a capper on the whole thing, and so I'm going to do that. To do that, I'll be talking about relapse and termination. They're not necessarily stages, but they're aspects of this theory, and I'm going to explain that. But before I get to those, I'm just going to do a quick recap of really the 5 stages of the stages of change theory. Again, I wanted to cover this right after New Year's. I want to talk about how New Year's resolutions typically don't work because they're based on motivation. Motivation's an emotion. Emotions are fickle. They come and go. But I wanted people to really know these stages to really help them understand where they are, and perhaps help them on the path to sustain change. So let me go through them again real quick. Stage one was pre-contemplation. This is when the person has the mindset of, I don't need to change. Stage two is the contemplation stage. That's where a person is starting to think, I might change. Stage three is the preparation stage, and that's, I will change. Really, I will. They're getting there. Stage four is action. The person has started to change, okay? And we said that usually they're at about 4, 5, 6 months into that action, into that change. And then last week, I talked about maintenance, where it says, I have changed. That's where a new pattern of behavior has been sustained for a significant period of time, okay? So to kind of bring in, relapse and termination, let me kind of discuss that a little bit. With relapse, this can occur during any of the times, any of the previous stages that come before it, right? Or not really come before it, but wherever the person is, they could be in the action stage and they can relapse. They can even be in preparation where they're really starting to get ready to change and fall back to pre-contemplation. Now, I don't really need to change. But in relapse, kind of the statement is, I've returned to my old ways. They've, either returned to an earlier stage or dropped back several stages. And here we might say that, when we talk about smoking or something, the person has gone a long period of time in the maintenance phase and hasn't been smoking, but the person might say, I was out the other night and I started smoking. I've continued since then. But getting off of a diet, not being physically active, stuff like that can be part of relapse. Okay. Now, I want to go back. I want to make sure I touched on this because I try to do my homework here. What else was I going to say? Yeah, kind of something to think about is that change is not necessarily linear. Now, I've talked about these stages almost in a linear process, but behavior change in people, and I've seen it in my clients, it isn't necessarily linear. It can be up, down, back, forward, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, stuff like that. And it can occur in different cycles. And again, relapse can be, a part of that. Now, let me talk about termination. In termination, I want to make sure I get this correct and not mess it up. Yeah. Hear the statement. Like I said, every time I've done a different stage, we've talked about a different statement. With termination, it's more of an endpoint, okay? And really, the person would say, "I'm changed forever." In this end state, which is great, the temptation to return to old ways of behavior, it's not present. It's not there. Um, the something to think about too, Aaron, is that person, they won't return to their old ways. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to go back to smoking. They're not going to go back to drinking alcohol. They're not going to stop doing physical exercise, even after an injury. You see some people, they're injured, they have knee surgery, knee replacement, etc. But once that's recovered, bam, they're right back in it. There's no relapse per se. So that's a really, nice place to be for clients. Again, I do think of termination as a destination. It is an end state there. And like we said, even if the person is bored or depressed or something difficult comes, that person, they won't return to their former way of coping or being. So just something to think about. People can explore this, and there's a lot of literature out there on it. But again, as you've heard me say to Aaron and to all of our listeners, I very much wanted people to hear this about change because, again, people have heard me say this with all my clients, and I'm a clinical psychologist. I want 3 things. 1, provide a safe place for them to vent. Number 2, always support them, never judge them. And number 3, make them good psychologists. And this is a way to do this. And that's part of the Psychology Corner. And I hope that, again, when people listen to all these different stages, that they're better psychologists now and can look at themselves, see where they are, Aaron, what stage they're in, and, potentially start the process of moving further into the preparation stage and even action stage. And ultimately, it'd be nice to see permanent behavior change for people. So that'll wrap up the stages of change theory. I got to think about what I want to cover next. If people want to tweet in to me or send an email or any of that, I would welcome that if they have any ideas or any questions and stuff. But there we go.
Perfect. And tell them how they can do that, David.
Okay, I didn't know I was going to jump in, but Aaron always sets me up there with there's 3 different options.
You set yourself up this time.
Well, yeah, I try not to take Aaron's stuff. Aaron really runs this whole thing so good, so smoothly. Even with the Carabas moments, it's smooth. It's smooth, people. No, 3 ways. One is Twitter. That is at David_Motters. Another one is Instagram. Just look my name up, David Motters. I am going to, like I said, post that picture to Instagram and Twitter of meeting all the rebels, or at least some of them, not all of them. Aaron met all of them. I've met a few of them. Those pictures, I'll post those on Twitter and Instagram, probably on Saturday on Rebels Remember Day. Those are 2 different ones, Twitter, Instagram. And then the third one is email. It's David at StarWarsReactions.com. Did I get that right?
You did.
Reactions.com. All right.
You did. Perfect. And of course, if you want to talk Star Wars with me, talk Rebels, or any part of Star Wars, you can, of course, hit me up on Twitter. Is the best place, at TA Harris 121079. TA Harris 121079. Or, of course, email me, Aaron at StarWarsReactions.com. And we'll have a good old time. So let us know. And of course, I couldn't do a episode of reactions without, ending it with one of my favorite things in the world. It's time for another Star Wars dad joke of the week.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Now, I'll be honest. I have not, normally I take a lot of time and I look for a joke that fits the mold per se for our topic of discussion and try to get a good one that's cheesy and stuff. But there's, if you follow me on Twitter, there's been a lot of real life happening this past week, which has been very difficult to process and work through. So I didn't get to do what I wanted to when it comes with this joke. I just didn't have the time, mentally wasn't in a good place. And I'll be honest, I still am not. But I was able to pull a joke out of the archive for us today that I just saved for a rainy day. And I figured I would use that one. And of course, since, we talked about baddies in Rebels and we talked about characters that were brought in from the other parts of the saga, I figured a joke about Darth Vader will work. So, David, what is the name of Darth Vader's sister?
I don't know. What is the name of Darth Vader's sister?
Elevator.
Oh my God. Elevator.
Unfortunately, her feelings, she's either up or down.
Oh my gosh, people. Oh.
So,
Aaron, it's fun to laugh even with all the difficulty. We have to. That's part of what we talk about. Star Wars and laughter really, really help you and I get through difficult times. We hope it helps other people too.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. So, all right, David, my friend, this has been a blast as always.
Absolutely.
So we want to take a moment just to say thank you, everybody, for listening. Y'all are the best. You're the greatest. We love y'all. We pray for y'all daily, and wish the best in life for each and every one of you. And things are good. You will hope things are good for y'all. And if they're not, it's okay. They'll get better. There's always hope. And you definitely keep your chins up, and the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow. I don't need to end this song. So we appreciate y'all. Take care, everybody. Remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.